Tonight we have with us three members, distinguished members of Parliament of the Environment Committee. On my left side you have Mr. Johannes Lebech, who is the shadow rapporteur on this dossier for the Environment Committee. Next to him we have Peter Liese, who has been an expert in the Environment Committee on all kinds of climate change related topics, such as the aviation and emission trading dossier. And next to Mr. Liese we have Satu Hassi, who is the rapporteur on this dossier. We'll start off with a few questions, and you all can intervene and answer them. We have collected those questions from different member states, and we have received questions from Germany, from the UK, and from Italy. Maybe the first one. There appears to be more attention in the media towards industrial emission reductions and the EU emissions trading scheme, and less towards the effort sharing dossier. It's not well monitored in the media, and the question is, what's the reason? And can the Parliament do something to make this element more visible, because it still covers 50% of the European greenhouse gas emissions? I can maybe start with...
Yeah, well, thanks. This is a good question, and well, in a way it's understandable and not understandable that in the media the main focus is on emission trading, the industrial emission reduction, because as you said, half or actually a little bit more than half of the EU emissions belong to this other part of the EU emission reduction effort. Maybe a little bit cynically, I think that the practical reason why there is less media attention is that it's because it's less lobbied. There are much less industry lobbyists around complaining or demanding or suggesting various things linked to this effort sharing issue. As the rapporteur, I have seen this very clearly. Most people who have approached me, and I suppose it's the same with the shadow rapporteurs of other political groups, come from the governments of the EU member countries. They have their issues which they favour or object or would like to amend in this Commission proposal.
Maybe another reason is, or it is a reason for the less lobbying by industry, that the effort-sharing proposal by the European Commission is really not ambitious. The ETS is ambitious, and I share the view of part of the industry that really it's very hard to achieve what the Commission proposal asked them to achieve, but it's a joke what the Commission proposed on effort-sharing. If you compare the targets, minus 21% based on 2005 emissions in the emission trading, but only minus 10% in the effort sharing. While, as far as I understood, in the housing sector, the potential of reducing CO2, cost-efficient reduction, maybe without any additional cost because you save oil and gas, the potential is there, but the Commission proposal is not demanding at all. And that's why nobody complains. Unfortunately, some member states even think it's too ambitious. But I think it is really not as ambitious, and that's one of the reasons why there's nobody really making noise. And I think that's one of the hints that we are very ambitious. The Commission is very ambitious on ETS, but here we could go even further. And when I see that some member states, like Spain, have a target that is more than 40 million tons of CO2 less ambitious than the Kyoto, they could emit more in these areas in 2020 than they do in 2010. That's one of the reasons. So they shouldn't complain.
I also think that one of the reasons are there's not so many details. I've been shadow on a small opinion, on just an opinion on renewables, and I've been met with more lobbyists being shadow on an opinion than on where I'm a shadow on a real directive. I also think it's a question of what's easy to discuss. It's easy to discuss biofuels, but the effort sharing directive is a little bit more technical, and a lot of the details will be decided in the home countries. So I think that's the reason that the effort sharing has not been that interesting to the press. But I share the view of the others that it's very important, but it has not been so easy to discuss.
Thank you. Maybe picking in on those answers, we have heard the fact that effort sharing is not ambitious enough, and also that the measures to be taken to achieve those targets needs to be taken in the member states themselves. So, two questions we have from the UK are: is the European climate target of 30% in case of an international agreement, is that consistent with a 2-degree challenge, avoiding that global average temperatures will remain below 2 degrees? A question from the UK says, no, we should actually go to 40%. Our question is, what is your opinion on that one? And second is, what can member states on their effort sharing actually do to meet those targets and even the less ambitious one? And what can Parliament, as a legislator, tell to member states how they should achieve those targets?
On the 2-degree scenario and the 40% target, as far as I understood, IPCC says, and that was agreed by the international community at the conference in Bali, we should have a target from industrialized countries for Annex 1 countries between 25 and 40%. So that would mean that 30% would be in that range. The problem is that nobody is really taking the 30% serious. We are discussing only about the 20%, and that's why I would insist that the 30% needs to be addressed properly, and we need to have a scenario. And therefore, I think the effort sharing needs to be more ambitious, because in the industry, when we go from the 20% to the 30% scenario, it will really be difficult, and we can see much more intensive lobbying then. The other point is on the CDM. When we have too much flexibility and don't balance this with the target, then we may have only 25% reduction inside Europe, or less than 25%. Then we are out of the IPCC scenario. What member states could do, I think there's a lot in the housing sector: insulation, renewable energies, more efficient heating, and it saves money. It is not expensive. So the consumer will spend less money on gas and oil, and the money will be invested in the local community. It creates jobs. So that is the best option, and we are starting to do this in my country, in Germany. And that's why my government, I'm a member of a government party, even said a 40% target for Germany is realistic. I would not say that it's realistic for all the member states, but we have committed, even in a government where we have Christian Democrats and Social Democrats. So without Greens, we accepted the 40% target. So that could be an example for other countries.
Well, as Peter Liese said, one of the problems in the Commission proposal is that what Commission is proposing that the targets set, part of that can be offset by measures outside the EU. So instead of reducing emissions at home, member countries could pay emission reductions elsewhere. But what IPCC is really saying, that this emission reduction range 25 to 40%,